Hello, and thank you. I'm so excited for you to be here, just adjusting things a little bit. Okay, so to begin with, thank you so much for kind of joining in and progressing along this series. This series has got quite a bit of ability to be able to really help and really get things to start to move forward. So create a little bit of momentum, create a little bit of understanding. Okay. So as we go into this next phase, I was hoping to go through and create a little bit of a diagram and recognizing and realizing as I do this that you're going to see the picture of everything, but at the same time, the words and how I describe everything that I'm drawing, I'm going to get you to do your own little diagram and write in the notes and write in what sits right for you, what resonates for you, and really allow this to kind of be your own process. And okay, let's get going. Just going to adjust here so you can kind of see. Perfect. All right. So to begin with, I'm just going to clear this off. To begin with, we want to be talking, or we are talking about our every diving in deep into our needs and our wants, which helps to cultivate and bring in what are our dreams, our goals. And ultimately, every time that we choose or that we want to go into and lean into achieving our goals, our dreams, our aspirations, our needs, our wants, our desires, a lot of the time there is resistance, and a lot of the time fear begins to come forward. And whether we are fully aware of it or not, or we realize it or not, there is so many of these mental, emotional blocks, roadblocks, building, construction blocks that hinder us from being able to move forward, that hinder or even prevent us from feeling or taking those action steps, taking those necessary forward movements to really claim the power that we have, that inner power, that exterior creator's power that really limits us from claiming that. And I've seen it, I've lived it, I live it. It's a process, and it's a part of being human, and this experience that we're all co-creating right now, especially in my personal opinion, especially with the amount of generalized fear that also ends up holding a lot of people down in those kind of sticky feels. And when you're in the sticky feels, it can be really challenging, even just to ask yourself the needs and the wants. I'm just going to sit and chat here. So as we begin to go into the needs and the wants, I encourage you to understand whatever's coming forward in your physical, whatever's coming forward, whatever stories are coming forward in your mind. Just be mindful of it. Have so much compassion for where you are, you and us, and we are all on a particularly fascinating and interesting journey at the moment. And this little diagram, this chat that we're going to have today, is hopefully, along with again the other two videos, is a package powerhouse that helps to kind of clear some things up. So again, when we clear some things up in our emotional, mental, physical, spiritual realm or world, it really creates and just gives us just that little bit of breath of fresh air that can help that momentum. It can help with that motivation, that physical energy, but also like just sometimes our energy really does, either whether we have it or we don't have it, really can be affected by the environment and by how our direct our eyes take in a lot. Not always do they take in exactly what's accurate, but they take in our environment. They can have these subtle and yet sometimes very powerful messaging that goes through and ripples through our kind of our guidance system, our inner knowing. And and we want to begin to clear and create some space so that inner guidance can not only be listened to, but it can start to, you can really start to trust it. And that trust happens and takes time, and it's practice. It's just like anything else. The practice will begin to continue to get it to move forward. Okay, so today is going to be I call it like the energetic funnel, but I started to recognize and realize that some of my wording around it felt very heavy or almost like business orientated, which is, by the way, not a negative. That's not a bad thing. Just for me, words tend to have a lot of power. And so what I started playing with and what I really started to feel was that calling it like the energetic stream, or the energy focused stream, focused energy stream. We're playing around with the words. We're playing around with the title. Either way, the overview, the idea, the goals that we have for this is ultimately that we start and we begin, and a lot of the time we have to begin there, because at the very beginning we want to visualize this big expansive ocean, and that ocean is all the responsibilities, all the things, all the stuff that we have going on in our lives, and it can just be a lot. It can feel like a lot. It is a lot. There's a lot of those shared experiences in this big, grand, big ocean that, the metaphor there is that just that we're just, sometimes if we don't have any direction, we could be swimming around in the ocean, getting lost in the ocean, never really moving forward or moving towards our destination. Okay. So when I go into this particular concept, the concept can be quite deep. So I tend to utilize my teachings through some metaphors. And so I want to kind of set up a framework of the metaphor that I'm hoping to kind of tap into as we go along this journey. So the metaphor is kind of the ocean aspect, and then it's going down into the beginning of the stream. So think of like fish, salmon spawning, that kind of concept. As you embark on that journey, you start to get more clarity of where, and you are attuning yourself to knowing, what you need to do, or where you at least need to go to. You don't always know the outcome, but And then as you go through and you are overcoming obstacles, hurdles, you can kind of hopefully visualize you need, and again, with the understanding of this is a metaphor, but at the same time, I'm going to bring in other components, and I'm going to bring in, like there's, as you get closer and closer to your destination, which we all have the same final destination. It's just what we do between here and here that has the variety, and that variety is unique to us, unique to our story. Yet we still have, all of us have the same beginning and the same end. So just kind of wrap that around in your head. It's a fairly big, and we can go deeper and deeper, and we will go deeper and deeper into it. But for this first leap, I want to try to begin to get the mind, the logic to understand it. And then hopefully we begin to shift it into the feels, and we begin to get the emotions to really represent and really begin to take those energizing forward movements. Okay, time for a little bit of drawing. So warmed up my pens here. I'm hoping that it's all good. So the very first piece here is, we're going to start nice and big. My creative doodles. So again, full disclosure, I'm an incredible artist. It's going to be amazing. I enjoy my vote of confidence in myself. So as we go through, so this first piece here is, the representation of the ocean, where we have all of our stuff, all of our overwhelm, it's our past, it's sometimes our fears, it's our stories, it's all these different pieces linking up. And if you can visualize yourself, like in the vastness of it, it almost makes sense how our emotional state can just feel so overwhelmed by everything. It would prefer not to know what is going on all over the place because it's just too much. It wants to just stay in here. It wants to begin to kind of just trying to visualize or trying to think of the right word, distract. It really wants to distract itself from seeking outside, from feeling outside, from looking beyond what is just right here. And a lot of the time, and to represent and kind of going back and forth between this metaphor and between our real life, we all have been in that situation where we are overwhelmed, filled with fear, filled with frustration, filled with emotion that is just not feeling like we have the tools to navigate. And so we lose our navigation system, and a lot of the time we tune out. So we don't attune, we do the opposite of attuning, and we tune out the experience that we're on, and we tune out that experience through distraction. So, TV and Netflix and social media, these are all tools. These are all beautiful, powerful tools that we can use, and just sometimes when we overuse tools, they can go from being a positive and an enhancing life experience to a distraction tool and one to minimize your experience. So I hope you can kind of see the option and the difference between the two. And continuing the distraction, and just I really want to, I guess, put a lot of emphasis on this part a little bit, is that expands outward, and it goes into the foods we eat, the foods that our body is craving. And those cravings that happen that are tied to our emotional state, though you just can't dismiss the amount of interaction that occurs between our emotions, our mind, and then our taste buds, and how our not necessarily mind, but our actual physical brain sends a signal to our taste buds, to our emotional state. It sends the signal back up to the brain that says, I need this. And whether it's sweet or savory, or it's the quantity, our emotional eating is a real powerhouse place. And it's a real fascinating and incredible journey to take on. And this will be one of the other journeys that I do in my teachings. It's a valuable and important story to begin to uncover. Okay, so that's all part of, and again, leaning into habitual habits as well. So, there can be anything in excess, anything and that is doing harm to yourself or doing harm to others, that is distracting, that is, even if that, and I'm going to really hit home here for some people, even if that means that you are a helper, that you are a fixer. Okay, there's a beautiful component within that's so tricky, because our society tells helper feelers that they need to be constantly giving to others. And that is another distraction tool. Okay, and I just want to solidify that if you are a helper, a fixer, a healer, really be mindful if you're constantly expressing and reaching out and doing things for others, because that is another little bit more of a camouflage, but it's another one that really prevents you from working on your own stuff, from sticking in your own lane and getting your own self on the straight and narrow. And as much as helping others is a beautiful quality, is a beautiful aspect of so many people, so many healers, so many energetics that are coming out in this world at this moment, it is also a very powerful shadow side that can begin to prevent you from doing your work. Okay, I just want to pause there, because there is some pieces that need to be unloaded. Okay, so coming back to our beautiful diagram. So again, when you're in the expansiveness, the ocean, the overwhelm, we need to start somewhere. Now, if you can visualize, as you're going along, and you can visualize that there's, you need to make a forward step, but everything just feels so much, you just don't even know where to start. This is where we're at. Okay. This is how we're going to go about things. So the very first part of this beautiful opening, okay, of this ocean going into a stream, is the energetic part of letting go. So whether you are aware of it or not, there are certain songs, there are certain qualities within being human that allows us to get so fed up with something that we finally let it go. But we can go through such a long, drawn out process of, that metaphorical whipping ourselves and reliving something and going into it over and over again, never coming out of it with a positive or a forward moving solution. So this is kind of a moment to, again, attune to your inner guidance, which is what we worked on a little bit in the first, more so in the second video, and really beginning to allow some of those aha moments, hopefully, that happened in the second video to kind of come to the surface again. Within that time, the process of letting go is really getting clear on, okay, and you can write it down or you can kind of visualize it in your mind. Anytime that something's in your mind, though, it's really great to get it out. So that mind dump helps, and it can be crazy pants, but this is part of this process as we're beginning to bring things in. We're beginning to allow ourselves to get into the nitty gritty so that we can really start to make forward progress. Okay, so trust the process here a little bit. So let things go. Now, easier said than done. The very first thing is the song from that kids show of like, let it go. But it's such a powerful song. And I think it's one that resonates for kids of all ages and adults, like it's a catchy song that gets caught in your head, because there isn't a single time within a life that we didn't feel so heavy with expectations. So much is put on our shoulders. We felt so trapped that when we finally just let it go, and I kind of want to use some expressive words here, but when we finally just let it go, it's like, yes, perhaps we are letting people down. Yes, perhaps there is some outcome and there is some consequences that need to occur from those actions of letting things go. But holy moly, does it ever feel? And again, if you can visualize, or if you've seen the Frozen, concept, but it's just that visualization of her when she's climbing up the mountain, she's releasing and letting things, like literally physically letting things go. I think we can all appreciate that there is maybe times in your life, or maybe you haven't gotten there in times in your life, but you're feeling it, where it's like, you change your wardrobe, you let go, change things. Things are just changing on your exterior, but you're fundamentally what's happening is you're letting things go on the inside. And usually as you let things go, there is like a period at the end of a situation, you finally either reach critical mass and you can't hold on to it anymore, or hopefully within this process, you actively choose to let something go. It starts to create a subtle shift on your inner guidance system. And with, again, many of the lessons that we'll learn throughout this program and moving forward is, as you continue to let things go, it creates space in your life. So that ocean that is so chaotic and so craziness and so many little, not enough time, not enough, inner value, not enough exterior value or resources, motivation, like these are all kind of big stories that we all tell ourselves, and we resonate because we've all been there. It's a humanness. It's a part of being in the process. It's a part of being in this story. I'm just really excited because I want to try to also explain that this very first piece is that you have choices of letting things go that you possibly know, or hopefully from the second video are beginning to know, beginning to understand. You need to let it go. Okay. It could be an emotion letting go. It can be a physical letting go, meaning changing your environment, changing relationships, changing relationships with self, changing, and when I say change is meant to be a process. It's not just it's not just a cut things off and throw it away. it's a process. Letting things go, is you're climbing that proverbial mountain. You're processing things, and you're kind of letting things go as they need to. It's not a whole lot of cutting people or places or things or situations out. It's looking at something. It's feeling how it makes you feel. And if it's not gearing towards your joy, your ideal outcomes, your goals, it doesn't need to be there. It is holding you back. It is one of those foundational, fundamental weights that you are choosing to haul along with you within your life. And if you're not aware, if you're not taking time like we are right now, you could be honestly hauling that along right up until the end. And not could, it will prevent you from living experiences. It will prevent you from doing, creating, being the ideal, the elevated version of your life. And that's a piece that, for me, as a healer, as a helper, as a teacher, an intuitive, it's a piece that want I want humans, I want us to understand that there's other ways, that there is other options, that we have choices. To empower oneself with the choices that we do have, I think is valuable. And so here it is. Here I am showing up and being outside my comfort zone. So I encourage you to be outside your comfort zone as well. Let things go. If you let things go, it will immediately create space for your energy. You will have energy. It will create energy. It will increase and start momentum and motivation. It will also allow there to be mental, emotional, and physical space in the layers. So your energetic realm, your emotional realm, your physical, and your inner realm as well. So it's like the benefits of this first step. The reason I'm getting so deep into it is because it's powerful, and it's going to kind of start from the inside. It won't necessarily be a lot of outside changes. Okay. It'll start from the inside, and you need to kind of really be working on this and shedding those layers on the inside first. And then things start to shed on the exterior. Your environment shifts, your emotional state shifts, how you present yourself to the challenges to the world begins to shift. But you need to start to make these inner callings and create the ability that it's okay for me to let this go. It is not working for me. Someone else might be very much trying to install you in their story that it's working for them, and please don't change anything. We are not focused on others at this particular time. It is okay, and it is not selfish to be working on one's true self. Okay. It will be positive ripple effects to everybody around you. I guarantee you. Okay. If for whatever reason there might be some heavy control, you name it, which this process will it's just activating things, doesn't mean that it'll destroy. Nothing is destroyed. It is a forward moving progression, meaning that things will evolve, and you will probably have resistance in yourself. Other people might have some resistance at first too. We will learn communication and how to hold the space for others, how to hold space for yourself first. We put that that life force on ourselves first, so that we are strong, that we are aware, that we are solidified in ourselves. So then we may be of service, and we may be able to expand and create options for others as well. Okay. So thoughts, feelings, emotions. Very first piece is action steps towards finding what you can let go of and doing it. Okay. Beginning to start that inner work, that inner recycle, and putting things away. Okay. Next, we're going to continue down. So as we begin, and again, the more things you let go of, the more you can start to really bring in this stream. So as we begin, there's this wonderful little fish here. Give him some little things so he can navigate. Eyes are important. Maybe a little smile. maybe not quite sure of the journey that he's on yet, but all he knows is that, okay, I have a direction. I'm on the board. That's what's happening here. So as he's on the board, we kind of work through and we're going and we're releasing things, we're letting things go, and all of a sudden we're not in the big ocean anymore. We feel, we start to bring in that there's a direction. So we start to realize that, okay, we're not here, we're wanting to go down, and we're feeling like we need to be going down this particular stream. Now, each stream, metaphor time again, each stream that you go down doesn't mean you necessarily will stay on that stream. Sometimes there's little, I can't remember the proper terminology, geographic terminology, but there's little pieces along. So if you start on a stream and all of a sudden realize that this isn't the right path for you, you always have options to kind of click onto other paths. But the more you work on finding your paths, the more you listen to your inner guidance system, the more quickly you'll be able to kind of progress through those streams or through those challenges that will occur. Okay, so as he begins to come into the stream, the very first thing that happens is there's a little bit of a block here. Okay, I'm gonna actually change the color. So if there's a block and this little guy's kind of going forward and he's realizing I can't get in here, there's nothing here, and frustration occurs. Okay, frustration, overwhelm, everything kind of comes back, and you start to look back at the ocean and you're kind of like, well, there's a lot of distraction, there's a lot of stuff that was, maybe it wasn't ideal, maybe it wasn't my ideal life, but this is hard. This challenge is hard. I don't know if I want to do this. And that's okay. There's a lot of times where this little guy, he goes back and forth a lot. Okay, wanting to create change, wanting to activate, wanting to move forward and make some of those action steps. Yet it will be challenging. You will come into certain things in your life, and it's not always going to be just smooth sailing as soon as you get that proverbial ball going down the hill. Okay, that proverbial ball, sorry, so many different things, but that ball's rolling down and then all of a sudden it goes back up and it's on a hill, or it's not being able to, it's not being able to kind of go exactly where you want it to go. Release expectations. This is the very first most important one. Okay, release the expectations of what you feel you're supposed to be doing to get to your end goal. Okay, those expectations will diminish your energy and they immediately start to make you go backwards. Expectation of self and expectation of others. Others will respond and they will react however they need to be able to learn the lessons they need to learn. Stay in your own lane in this step. This is a very important step, to not take on other people's energy, emotions, feelings, thoughts, ideas. This first stage is just kind of, you are in a little bit of an infancy stage. You're not super duper strong yet, okay? Or you are strong. I'm going to re-clarify that. You are strong beyond belief. But maybe your belief system in that your intuition is just needing a little bit of nurturing. Okay, and we're going to nurture that along this route. So needless to say, if he had just kind of kept on going, he's like exploring, and there's this big obstacle here. But then if he realized, and if he kept going, he'd realize there's a little outcome here, or maybe I can jump, or you start to get creative on the action steps. Okay, so he could kind of start to swim, and he swims over here and he finds this little alcove. And as he gets in here, there's more open space. Okay, not only is there more open space, our mind is not so flooded with everything that was going on out here, with all the other people's stuff and all the other, you're already through the process of beginning to let things go. So now you actually begin to create some forward movement, some of the exterior or the 3D world changes. So those changes need to be your action steps. Now, action steps don't occur just overnight. Action steps usually need to be specific and they need to be very goal orientated, which means that you need to put some of your energy into it. You need to actually, do the work. You need to be able to hunker down and recognize, is this a priority? So again, our second video was really helping because if something's a priority, if it's a need, it should be right at the top of your list. This is where we start to categorize and start to understand, okay, kind of got through that first hurdle, which is expectation in a very large expanse. And again, others and ourselves. But as we begin to find those little obstacles, it begins to create some clarity. And as you create that clarity, you begin to understand and feel into what the action steps will need to be to accomplish them. They don't always come on all at once. So again, release expectation. However, you know what your needs are. You've gone and you've done the work, like you've clicked those boxes. Okay, check, 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 check. Now you're beginning to get into the action. So if I visualize a need, for me, a need is that's extremely valuable for me in this time in my life is to make sure I have space to be with my daughter. So I also need and it is a need for me to be teaching and healing and helping others. This has been a need since I can remember. Camouflaged ever so subtly with what I was describing earlier as being a helper, a fixer, and a person that needs to, just be of use, I suppose. And I needed to release that persona. I needed to let go of that because that was too much of its shadow side. Now I'm in a really great state and stage to be able to help and be able to motivate and be able to hold space for people. Yet, a need for me is I need to also have space for myself and my daughter, and that's a need. So this is just an example. So to go into this example, I needed to find a solution that allowed me to be an amazing mom, an amazing caregiver, role model, and also just have some fun, the creative, the diving in deep into being with a child who is just full of life, full of energy. This is a gift beyond measure. And if you don't necessarily have a kid, but you have kids, nieces, nephews, you have them, just observing them honestly in a park, you can just appreciate the amount of energy and vitality and creativity that occurs there. So that is a need for me. And so what I did is I get up at 4 a.m. and I did this when I was going through my schooling, when I was going through my counsel training, when I was going through my business school. I've been doing this off and on since my daughter, so since she was born, and that was a common and is still to this day a common solution. That is an action. That is an action step that I take, and I really begun to fall in love with. I make a whole ritual, and again, we'll talk about rituals further along in the course, but it's a ritual now that fills me. It fills my cup. It's able to allow me to check those check boxes. Now, that is my process. That is something that worked for me and within my needs. Yet I want you to also activate that within yourself. Dive into those desires. What are my needs? How do I accomplish those needs? And begin to see what comes forward for you. It took, by the way, it took a really long time for me to get to those stages, recognizing and realizing that I was in emotional distress and feeling very heavy in my emotions and feeling like I was very stuck in my 3D outcome, 3D world. So in my experience in life, feeling like I was very, very stuck for a very long time. So I appreciate, and I definitely want to really highlight as well, don't force something, just take little bites into it. Do little things that feel right for you. Blocking off time. So again, for my example, what I needed to do before I kind of got to the stage where I am right now is I needed to take little nuggets of time where it was just Elaine and I didn't do chores, I didn't do work, I didn't do anything else. And I let her set the tone, like that. Those were some of the baby steps. And I needed to work on that because I'm a fairly motivated and business orientated person. For me to just dive into and be in kid mode um, was a skill I needed to work on and needed to cultivate, and now it happens so free flowy, but it had to start with little tiny baby steps, and not feeling guilty and not feeling like I was letting everybody else down. And at the simultaneously, funny enough, I was letting my daughter, felt like I was letting everybody down. So if you're there, if you're in that state, I highly encourage these first few steps until you get some momentum, until you start to really trust your intuition, trust your inner guidance system. Start small, little baby micro steps. It's beautiful and truly incredible where you can go from there. Okay. Whew. Trying to narrow this in, but here we go. We've got this next stage. So again, what's going to occur is we're along our path. This little guy, he has made it through. He's gone in and he started to check some boxes off. He started to really do some action steps that is making him feel like he's accomplishing things. He's finding maybe other obstacles that are coming along, and maybe there's this, big bear with, really hungry, and he's kind of going in and he's going yummies. Okay, I want some of this fish. And so there's like a little, like, this is kind of like a do or die kind of thing. You do not want to be caught by that bear. So you're visualizing, you're learning from others. Okay, so this could be some of the process of the action steps as well. Is that you're learning, you're in a creatively active learning process here. You're taking in your environment, your senses are starting to be turned on. So your feelings are enhanced, your emotional state is enhanced. There's a lot of things that can be coming. And what is another big roadblock here, and what I'm going to kind of almost metaphorically put this little bear. So this little bear guy is, how can I best describe that? He's an obstacle that could be, let's call it criticism in general. Okay, it can be an inner critic, it can be an exterior critic. You're doing these action steps, you're feeling motivated, you're doing really great, and all of a sudden one person says something, and all of a sudden a situation occurs in your life. Another thing that this could be is, these are your triggers. Okay, we all have them, and you might not be like that says triggers. So that bear is a trigger. Okay, and those triggers will all of a sudden be very dominant as you start to make those forward progressions. You're sensitive right now, everything is on overload. You're all of a sudden going from like distraction, I don't really know where I'm going, that's safe, that can be very safe for some people, but you're not necessarily, let's say, quote unquote, living your best life. It's just a place of being. It's almost like, oh, that's a little hard, but I kind of want to use the word. It's a little bit of purgatory that can happen here. Okay, where you're kind of just going along and you're swimming. You just don't really have a whole lot of direction, and that's okay. However, we get through the first couple of hurdles and we start to feel like we're moving forward, and all of a sudden someone says something, or very, very common, our inner dialogue starts to have some of the old stories, or starts to bring up the old past stuff, or there's something that happens in our life. I remember when this happened, the last time this happened, this outcome occurred, and you end up going on that outcome, even though you're like, and I don't want to go on that outcome, I don't want that to occur. You're focusing on that occurrence, and it's almost pulling you into the same outcome. Does that make sense? Really, it's a big concept, but it's important to even just allow that to start to settle in. So this bear is our triggers. It's trying to grab at us. It's trying to corral us. I mean, it's trying to eat us. It's literally trying to take our energy, our motivation, our everything away. And be mindful of the little tricky ways that this can come forward too. There is people that love us, that have our very best intention at heart, yet when they start to see shifts or changes, or they, in their visual mind, they start to see you maybe overextending yourself, or blah, 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 blah. Their story is their story. Have compassion, and again, we'll talk about communication on how to set healthy boundaries further on down the course, but have compassion for where they're at and what they're trying to accomplish. What I want you to kind of do as you're starting down this process is saying, just choose, find your emotional and notice when things start to feel like you're being triggered, and just simply say thank you for your opinion. Keep it simple. We don't need to be arguing, and especially at this time where we're in a little bit of infancy stage, vulnerability is, we are in it right now. Okay, that vulnerability, we need to create some safe space. Okay, so that's when this little fishy guy over by the bear, he says, yeah, no, thank you very much for that experience. I see it coming, or I feel it coming, and I'm cruising way over here. I'm going to give myself some safe space, and I'm going to maybe take some self-care time. I'm going to take a little weekend away. I'm going to take an hour out of my day, and I'm just going to have and describe that I need some alone time to write or create, or do something for just myself, because that sacred time is crucial at this stage. Okay, triggers are going to happen, people are going to try to, and you will try, like when I say you, your inner mind, your inner story will try to sabotage. Okay, and that kind of leads us into the next stage as well. But sabotage, humans, we sabotage so well, and without meaning to, sometimes we sabotage those that mean the most to us. So out of love, out of caring, and I don't quote that as it's not love or caring, but I simply just say, be mindful of the story that might be happening in their world. Be mindful of it, but don't take it on. Okay. So as this little fish, and you might stay here for a while. Okay. This is one of those little realization pieces where you're kind of here. You're still seeing the triggers, but you're not right in it. You're not having that bear attacking you all the time anymore. And by the way, some people stay in this phase where you're just getting through the first hurdle, and you're constantly getting battered and bummed and just let down over and over again by that proverbial trigger / that trigger bear. Okay. If you don't take the space, if you don't take this time to be able to disengage, to be able to feel your feelings, what is yours and not other people's, not society's, not what everybody else is telling you to do. But this is where you begin to create your intuition guidance system. The self-work, my programs, we focus and we streamline into this area for quite some time, where you get really good at being able to witness your triggers and not react to them, not want to swim towards them, not wanting to engage in the drama. Okay, where you just stay here and you are building your resilience. You are getting stronger by doing nothing. So that might be a little counterintuitive to some of you, but action can sometimes be in the non-action, is again that internal work. Okay. So as we continue along, I hope you guys are doing amazing. How's everyone doing, and how's everyone feeling? We're kind of just filtering through. We're seeing it. We're getting it. Some of us are kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down. Good. I need a blue color. So as we begin to continue this beautiful funnel, that funnel begins to get a little bit, it begins to get a little smaller here. Stream, my apologies. I'm trying to work on like re-clarifying my old teachings. So instead of when I was teaching this, by the way, like years and years ago, funnel wasn't really even a thing. A funnel was something that you used, to funnel water into. So completely different world that we are in now. Anyway, so as you begin to bring this funnel in and begin to really understand where this funnel goes, now you are, there's still obstacles, but the obstacles, you've learned so many tools along the way that the obstacles aren't feeling nearly as catastrophic or nearly as heart-wrenching, and they aren't throwing you off course as much. Okay, they can still happen, they will still happen, but now you're in a more focused space. Your energy is soaring by this point. Okay, your resilience, your strength is, and again, I'm not just talking about physical strength, that will occur as well, just naturally through osmosis. But your inner strength is where that really, really feels, and it really starts to cultivate and shine from within. Okay, so as we get to this next stage and this next part of the funnel, next part of the stream, it's an important piece to start to ask for help. Now, I can literally hear some of the clients, some of over the years, like just the objections, the objections that occur at this stage. They're like, I'm strong. I've gone through all of this. Why am I asking for help? Why? I'm like, because you kind of needed to get a lot through this stuff. This is a lot of inner work. This is a lot of you stuff. Now we're getting to the stage where your dreams are starting to become a reality. There is actual real live 3D world stuff coming in. And if you do not ask for help, this is a powerful statement, in my personal opinion, and through the experience of seeing it over and over, as well as my own experience, it has got some truth to it. Let's just say that. If you aren't able to ask for help, a common piece that I have seen happen over and over again, this is help. This is support. Okay. Can be from family, or it can be sometimes making boundaries, really strong boundaries around family. It can be from your friend network. Again, sometimes letting go of friend networks, which is a part of this process. But help and support, if you're not able to ask for it, if you're not able to see the opportunities, which are, by the way, happening and being created for us all the time, for us, it's being created for us to be able to accomplish said goal, said dream. Okay. If we shut down those opportunities, if we say, no, I don't want help, I don't need help, I don't even know how to ask for help, I'm the helper, I don't ask for help, I help other people. Okay. If this is where and what you get stuck on, what will occur is you will burn yourself out. Okay. You will get so frustrated and just like almost be able to see, feel, know that what you're working towards is right there, and it will slip through your fingers. It will start to get a little bit of a toxic sludge here. Okay, because this is a part where the stream, there's not as much water per se. But if you allow this hurdle, these are a whole bunch of boulders and actually a whole bunch of like leaves. It's fall, like a whole bunch of sludge is kind of coming into this part. Okay, there's not a lot of what's that called? There's not a lot of quick, like there's not a lot of things that are pushing things through. If you don't allow the support to help you to get rid of those boulders, to help to keep this stream nice and clean, nice and free flowing, you're going to start to create a very toxic sludge. It's going to start to decay, and it's going to start to really not make you feel good. Okay. You're going to question everything from this point and previous. And the reason I'm highlighting this so much is because it can be a really heartbreaking experience for myself. I've been in it. I've done it. I've done this. This has happened so many times, and it happens less now because I can see my process. I can see the triggers. I can see the things coming more and more as I continue. It's an evolutionary, continuous piece of growth. You fall back. Okay, you end up going through, and you end up kind of you're not learning. You're not unlearning what you've learned, but you've just kind of you kind of almost give up. Like there can be this kind of like, and there's lessons in that. I'm not going to say that there's not. Sometimes I'm going to go into a little side note here, but sometimes you almost have to fall back to recognize that you're back at the start. You don't know how you got there. The stream just kind of threw you back, and those are those moments in life where it can feel like you've hit your rock bottom. Okay. Now, however, there's beautiful light, even if you've fallen all the way back to this. Okay? The light is that you haven't unlearned anything. You've learned, you have the tools, you have the skill set, you have the mindset even. You've just fallen backwards a little, and that's okay. What occurs is that, hey, this isn't your first time going through this rodeo. You know, okay, yeah, no, I remember this. I'm going to dodge, and I don't even have to go through all of this that I had to at the beginning. I just know that there's a hole over here. Oh, there's my triggers again. Okay, going through that. I'm going to give myself some space, sacred timing, creating those micro movements, those micro habits, which will just build so much faster now. And as I begin to get to this stage, I again ask for help. Or sometimes this occurs, and this occurred for me actually. Sometimes I kind of get to this space where I'm giving myself the space, I'm working on myself, I'm figuring it out. And all of a sudden I realize, oh yeah, hey, didn't even notice this before. There's like a little stream, a side stream here, that this is actually my goal over here. I had no idea. And this is why expectation, which is right here, we're letting go of that first. Because if I had expectation and I held on to that throughout this journey, I would keep missing this little alcove, this little secret passage, the level up, if you want to call it that. Okay. And because of expectation, if I'm open to experiences of life and things just happen, opportunities, they happen to us all the time. Those opportunities of something feels right and we take action. We don't always let the mind say, oh, that. No, it feels right. My heart feels it and I'm doing it. This is what I need at this stage. Okay. If we listen to that, that can take us on these quick routes. That this ends up being, it could be a slightly different dream or a goal or a different way of getting there than what we thought we had to do. But if you keep going through here and you keep holding on to that expectation, again, I can almost guarantee you that you will be back and forth here, sometimes going back to that ocean over and over again, ocean of overwhelm. And that's because, again, even if you do, let's say, start to ask for support, you start to get that, which is this particular little hurdle here. Yes, people will help you. People will start to help you towards the goal. However, there could be a faster or a more quicker, or more streamlined way. And there could be lots of different streamlined ways up to lots of different things getting you to the goal that you didn't even realize you needed or wanted when you were way up here, way at the beginning. Okay. So this part of your process, again, you can almost feel or see or maybe sense where you might be in here in this beautiful imagery. But the goal here is wherever you happen to be, you need to have openness and trust in self. Okay. And once you've built that openness and that trust in self, then you begin to trust in others. And that's a hard piece. Okay. I feel that. I understand that. When you trust in others, when you start to have the help and the motivation that, hey, this person's got me. They're in my corner. And talk about sabotage. You might push that quite a bit, especially if you have some past stories of feeling like people in your past have let you go. Don't shy away from if that's part of your story, and that'll be one of your lessons. Am I pushing this person away who's got me? Who's, and again, you have to be vulnerable. You have to be open to trusting in the process. And what you lean into, make sure that that person is also leaning into. And again, the things that we will uncover throughout these programs, throughout all these teachings, this is all going to make more sense. This is like the master plan. This is the life plan. It's beautiful and it is chaotic. Okay. There's a reason why I don't have a whole lot of words. One, because you can't read it. You're on YouTube. But two, because you can see the amount of chaos and the amount of struggle and the amount of beautifulness when you do get over and when you do accomplish something and when you do get maybe this beautiful little opportunity that comes along and it just fills you to the brim with amazement and belief in magic and belief in the system, belief in, when I say the system, being mindful of words, the system of you, the inner system, okay? This activates your inner system like you would not believe. It catapults you through some of those life struggles, life hurdles. And usually, by the way, this little piece where it all of a sudden had this little alcove, there's usually a pretty magnificent life aha moment that occurs there. That can be catalyst from a whole host of different things. It can be a catalyst from doing a breakup that you needed to for years. It can be a catalyst of being so stuck in blah 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 blah, a health crisis. Like these pieces. So right now, I think some of you are thinking like, oh well, this is a positive. This little alcove, this little side piece to get to my goal, that's got to be a positive. What society tells us is a positive, by the way, what our brains tell us is a positive. I'm going to challenge that, and I'm going to say no. To be honest, this moment happened, okay, and began to happen when I was in a relationship, my marriage, when I was in a situation that left me hollow, and that's okay. That left me in a real dire space, and health, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. It was kind of all over, and I was kind of almost stuck. So I wasn't necessarily in the ocean because I had accomplished a lot. From an outside perspective, people might have looked at me and said, like, yeah, she's got it together, she's fine. I'm kind of like in this little nook here where I can't get back to the ocean. There's a part of me that really, really wants to go back to the overwhelmed ocean, because at least there it just wasn't so hard, you know. But this started a catalyst inside me that recognized I'm in it, and my daughter kept me stuck. And I say that with love and adoration, because I couldn't go all the way back. I could not. I had someone there that needed me, and I needed her. And that's not a codependent kind of need. That's more just like okay, I need to level up. I need to be the person I want and need to be in order to move forward from this kind of cycle that I'm in. And you know, through lots, I kind of went here, I went over here, back and forth, back and forth. I had lots of support. Support that I had never up until that point in my life ever asked for. Highly independent female bodied individual that I am. I did not know how to ask for help. I hit that wall many times trying to do a workaround. Hence why I'm saying how important that is. So that's an important piece. A little side note and a little emotional connection to my story. You know, when I finally had that little bit of a aha moment, it's magical, and I hold it near and dear. And it happened within a fairly small chunk of time from what our visualization of time is, but it was a big part of me trusting, okay, making some choices, making some and again, like kind of canceling out those triggers, canceling out that bear that's trying to just constantly sabotage and myself sabotage, and just putting it on the back burner, saying like, yeah, I'll get to those sabotaging thoughts in a moment. Right now, I got some stuff to do. Like, I got to keep going here. So those action steps, and then asking for support, getting the help, and still feeling stuck, finally allowed me to kind of find this alcove. Okay, this little part that has gotten me to where I am and where I feel really solid. I'm still growing. I will never stop. It will just be that's a part of my process in this life, in this particular lifetime, but it is a choice. Okay, from here it is a choice. Now, as we come further down, and let's say we get into the struggle, we start to get into our goals and our desires. Okay, goals, desires, things are starting to feel like they're really coming together, and it doesn't mean that things won't feel like they're coming together along this whole journey. There's an extra special little feeling here, though. Pull out the purple color. So when you get to this stage, there's a lot of choice. You can't read that, I know, but that's what I'm writing down there. Okay, there's some golden, I'm going to write some stars here. There's going to be some twinkly magic. Okay, there's some twinkly magic happening, both on your internal and it can also begin to represent itself in your external. Now, this doesn't mean you're just kind of like, I'm done, life accomplished, gold star, stamp of approval. This is just a simple, beautiful gliding phase. Just a glide. If you can represent or if you can visualize, the breaststroke is the very first one, or even side stroke. So, the breaststroke itself, if you've ever visualized or if perhaps you've done a breaststroke yourself, you can actually feel what it feels like. Everything is like a ton of energy, ton of work. You take a deep breath and you're going to go under the water and you are going to glide. No effort. You just are. And you get the most accelerated growth, the most accelerated forward movement when you don't do anything other than just lean into the glide. Okay, eventually you'll feel the momentum, however much power you put into the beginning, into the actual action steps, whatever that power is that you put in, and now you're in the glide. That's how long you get to glide for. Now, a few pieces here. We're just scanning over an hour here, you guys. I just press pause if you need to. Shake it up. This one is the next little piece that is powerhouse. I promise you don't want to go away yet. When you get into that choice, when you begin to choose whether you actively engage and participate in the glide, or you choose that glide feels really uncomfortable. Where's my chaos? Where's my triggers? Where is, even support to a certain point? You're like, you've got this. So your support system that was maybe there, they're kind of like, oh, she's got this. Yeah, I'm here, but I love you. You love me. Maybe I might be needing your help now. Okay, you can be in that glide, and it can feel uncomfortable for some. This is what I deem or visually stimulate myself and even visually stimulate my clients and my students. This is the stage when all of a sudden you start to doubt yourself and you start to ask yourself interesting little questions, niggly questions. They come up little bit by little bit. For some, just you start to question things that aren't even wrong. You start to make them kind of like, oh, well, I don't know. Is that right? I don't know. Maybe that's just wrong. There's not even any reason for it. Your mind is just all of a sudden started being like, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. I don't know. This is all wrong. I applaud you. And I know, and I feel that if that might be a piece for you, that can be scary. Okay. The choice is yours, though. I want to have that sound empowering, even though there might be a few people that maybe you're kind of in this stage, or maybe you found wherever you are, but you're looking forward and you're kind of like, this is like a little like, whoa, okay, so even when I start to accomplish things, there's still going to be struggle. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. When you're in the gliding phase, you put all this energy, all this work, all this effort, and your resistance to it, you kind of hit that glass, that invisible glass wall. I've seen it, or I've recognized it. I can't even remember where some people talk about it as like a thermostat. Like you've reached your critical mass on the thermostat, and now you're getting clicked off, and you're kind of proverbially you're kind of falling backwards. Okay, you need to learn to love the glide. I just want to try to kind of go from like, this could happen. However, to learn to love the glide means that you are in full on observer mode. You are not trying to action. You are not trying to do anything at this moment in time. And again, this is where we can get to, you want to try to celebrate it. Now, this cycle can be like a teeny tiny. So like some people's goals, I'm just going to break it down here for a little side note. Some people's goals throughout this whole process is their goal is just to have a shower and feed themselves at some point in the day. So as you begin to allow yourself to go into this goal and into this choice, it really is important that you understand that these goals and this choice, this glide, could be that you got yourself fed, you got your kids fed, you got yourself showered, and you are winning at life. Just those two goals. It can be something even more. It could be on the other end of the spectrum. But again, feeding ourselves and having a good day is a goal, and an incredible goal. Having and choosing a career that maybe that was one of your dreams or your goals, or getting into a safe space, getting into some type of house that you either own or you rent and it feels good to you, like that can be another, what would be considered bigger goal than getting groceries and having a shower. So within this, you need to celebrate. Okay? Small goals, celebrate. Big goals, celebrate. And they can be the same type of celebration, by the way. Like find something that you really need to reward yourself and applaud yourself on a regular basis. Because if you're not accomplishing and if you're not feeling like you are moving forward, even if it's little baby steps, we talk about sacred steps forward, those micro movements forward. You need to make sure that you have the choice of celebrating. Celebrate the glide. Enjoy the glide phase. That allows you to build your resilience, but it's the other, your reserved energy. So build your resilience, yes, but it also reserves your energy, because ultimately there is going to be another cycle through, where you're going to have now another new goal. You're going to have now another new process. And if you just kind of like sabotage and you're kind of like, you start bringing in drama and craziness and start creating little fights over here and start saying nothing is working. This is all wrong. Everything's wrong. You don't get to start on a new phase here. You will just fall back, all the way back to drama. You're just gonna and it won't feel good. Okay. Doesn't again mean that it's wrong, but just be mindful of some of the things that may occur here in this glide phase. Okay. You can feel a lot, and it can be like, I am so excited. So I nailed it. I did it. And then just as soon as you're feeling good, it's like doubt trickles in, questions trickle in. And you start to go into some of those old past triggers and habits over here. Okay. Last final piece. You guys are on the home stretch. Thank you so much for joining and continuing to join in. So goals, choices, you're in the glide. You're enjoying the glide. You're celebrating the glide. Yay. I love it. Now, this whole entire process, it happens over and over, and that's what I was just explaining, small and big alike. As you begin to intentionally pause and reconnect to yourself, take some self-care time, take some celebratory breaths, building yourself up for that next power stage, and for inevitably, hopefully, that next glide. You're not cutting yourself off from the glide. So if you take the power stage and you go into the glide and you go in and you start that power stage too early, you're going to get exhausted and you're actually going to move yourself backwards. So that's the metaphor, that's the visual component of what I just explained. Okay, so if you think of breaststroke and you breaststroke, you put the power in, you put the energy in, and you kick and you glide. Okay, that glide is important. If you don't actually lean into the glide and hold the glide, and you try to start another action right away, it will first of all stop that forward movement, and you will actually begin to go backwards. Okay, so just a little bit of a visualized component of what I just explained. Now, intentional pausing is sometimes reconnecting, recollecting yourself and beginning to move forward into your next future endeavor. Now, The next future endeavor might need some space. You might need to go through this whole process all over again to really connect and feel and where is my intuition? Where are some boundaries that need to maybe be re-solidified for myself, for others? How's my environment? Like we start to go through my joy center. We start to go through all the layers. All my teachings are meant to be utilized and used for a lifetime. Okay, it doesn't matter what part of or what trajectory you're on. It is over a lifetime that you can bring those tools forward and be like, and I'm going to need to use this again because we're going into an action phase, or we're going into being triggered, or we're going into the big grand ocean, and I'm noticing I'm getting distracted and feeling overwhelmed again. Okay, these are all parts of the cycle of life. Okay, and our life stories. Okay, so the important piece, though, is an interesting, and it's going to be a tool, and it's going to be a roadblock or a big boulder in this whole stream. Okay. Now, an emotional buildup happens with procrastination. So procrastination is kind of, you're in the glide, you're and by the way, procrastination can happen at any time throughout this process, and it will just stop you solid. It won't let you do any action steps. It won't let you will just be spinning around in a circle. Now, procrastination as a roadblock or as a big, massive boulder going into your grand scheme of things. Yes, procrastination at its core fundamental is the killer of dreams. It is, and it can be something that just holds us stuck. Reality, that's a reality. Now, procrastination with purpose, with an intentional pause, and I don't even call it procrastination, but it is ultimately of the same umbrella, can also be a tool, especially at this stage, by the way, folks. Okay, if you're down here, you're cultivating, you're creating, you're dreaming, you're bringing in what next do I want to work on? It becomes really fun, by the way. This process, once you start to get into it, becomes really fun. So as I am intentionally pausing, aka procrastination, but with purpose, I am allowing my future endeavors to have some creative space for me to understand that and get clarity on how best I want to, I guess, attack the situation. And because I have all these beautiful tools from a lifetime of doing and creating and being in this, those tools are going to help me to be able to manifest and be able to bring things in a much more deeper, connected way. So as I begin to decide not to go right into action again, I want to just create some space and wait for the right timing, wait for the universe, wait for whatever you want to call it, the right opportunity to come forward. I will know because my intuition and my intuitive, I've already been working on it, it is going to let me know. I'm going to trust that. And that next opportunity, when it comes in, it's going to blossom. I'm going to feel it come from within and go all the way without, or all the way beyond. Okay. So bringing it to a close, you guys are powerhouse elevated warriors for sticking in with me this whole time. Thank you. I hope you got some clarity. I hope you gained some understanding. I hope you enjoyed my lovely diagram. I love doing it. It's all the chaos. It's all the realities. It's all the struggle. It's all the fun and the element of surprise and creativity within life. It's also just, a wonderful way to express. It's a wonderful way, hopefully something really tunes you in or really allows it to sit and makes understanding. Ask questions, reach out to me. I am available. I'm very open to getting on calls, like 20-minute, 30-minute calls. Those are my jam. I love being able to connect with people face to face through Zoom or sometimes even on a phone call. I'm here to support and help. It's my passion. It's what I'm here to do. So this is my big own personal reach out, and just remember that you have people in your corner, that you have people that love and adore you, and you are incredible, evolving human. And thank you so much for staying into this process with me. Yeah, bye.